For half a century, heavy metal has endured. It has spread, and it has spawned. Legions of fans all over the world share a common language. The t-shirts we rock, the patches we procure, the denim we destroy, and the leather that keeps us together. These are the unique expressions that unite us, and this is the fabric of metal. Heavy metal fans often consider themselves to be inherently anti-fashion, but that really disregards the fact that all clothing is fashion. Heavy metal has been growing, it's been mutating for the last 5 decades. And with every new scene comes new imagery, new styles, and new ways of dressing the part.
Clearly, metal is tied with fashion. You have high fashion, like haute couture fashion. That is not what we're talking about when we're talking about metal fashion. I think you're talking about an aesthetic. You guys have an aesthetic.
This is Kim.
My name's Kim Dylla of Kylla Custom Rockwear, also known as VULVATRON. Greetings, metalhead.
Before she was VULVATRON, Kim Dylla was part of the metal scene in Charlottesville, Virginia, performing in different bands and making her own stage wear. Her career in academia was put on pause when one of her custom-made jackets got noticed. Tell me about the jacket you were wearing that triggered the first person to say, "Hey, can you make that for me?"
My friend Joey from Slipknot, he was the drummer for a long time. He played with Ministry and with Satyricon. He had a leather jacket that was made by Todd Junker. I love his stuff. He charges thousands of dollars for his pieces, so I could never afford it. And I was like, I wonder if I could make this. So I went to a thrift store and I got a bunch of like busted leather jackets, and then I tried to kill the leather in it more. I bleached it, I ran it over with my car, I buried it in the yard, and then I let Joey borrow it, and he never gave it back. But that was sort of like the investment that started the career because everyone saw that jacket.
Kim, I am looking at the impressive list of people you've designed stage wear for. When people approach you for pieces, do they have specific ideas of what they're looking for, or do they give you carte blanche?
So it goes both ways. Like certain people will send me a picture of a jacket they had in mind, that's something inspired by a movie or a video game character, and they're like, make something like this. Then some people will just give me a general concept, like, here's our album, make some clothes that you think will fit. You know, being a metalhead for years and years, I get to come up with a whole look for your sound. King Diamond hired me to do their band look for the Abigail tour, and King Diamond is one of my favorite bands, and the Abigail album has meant so much to me over the years. And then I kind of like get to put what I heard in that album into cloth, or like what I think the band should look like playing that on stage, and that's awesome.
No kidding. Can you tell me more about designing for some of your metal heroes?
I made an outfit for Andy Sneap of Judas Priest last year, and I was really nervous about that. I didn't take any measurements, and I had to just guess on it. I made a few things for Watain, and I love them. And Mayhem, I worked with them too, and like, I'm a black metal person, so making them like capes. We do a lot of work for like wrestlers now with WWE, so I've had to learn how to be the master of mini spandexes. Chris Jericho is like one of the most famous wrestlers of all time, and we've been working together with his band Fozzy.
What would you say are some of the similarities between the wrestling world and the metal world?
Beyond the look, like, there's tons of overlap in terms of wrestlers that are metal fans, wrestlers that are in metal bands. Nasty Ronnie was a wrestler, and he had a song called The Power Slam.
Come at me, make a stand, put you in a power slam.
I mean, that's like classic thrash jams.
Not to mention the metal world and the wrestling world are, to a degree, fake.
You're totally right. But like, both metal people and wrestling people would say, it's still real to us.
So that is a wide spectrum of performance you dress. How would you describe your signature style?
Definitely like post-apocalyptic Mad Max inspired is the primary thing. A lot of like gothic influence from like Hellraiser and Dark City and like sci-fi movies that have that dark aesthetic.
You mentioned spandex. What other types of fabrics are you working with?
So like my two main fabrics are Saxon denim and leather.
feels like an appropriate time for a history of denim, which is a fabric we can all relate to.
Every subcultural movement has had its own take on denim to send this visual message that they're not part of mainstream society. Before the 1950s, denim was not countercultural at all. Denim was associated with workwear and it was associated with cowboys. And then in the 1950s, as denim was getting associated with biker gangs and rebels, it gets this identity of rebellion and that particular kind of power of resistance. The fabric famously got banned in schools because they were worried that the jeans were going to corrupt you, that like the denim had this corrupting force on the sort of weak juvenile psyche. In the 1960s, that gets picked up by the counterculture movement of the hippies. By 1969, 1970, you have Levi's using aerial shots of Woodstock as advertisements.
Whether it's black or blue, jacket or jeans, there's no denying that denim is a staple in the headbangers' uniform. But stagewear is a different beast. Kim, this might be obvious, but why do you think stagewear should go above and beyond what people in the audience are wearing?
For me, like metal is very theatrical, especially on the higher end of productions. Bands that do a big Wacken show with like lights and pyro and backdrops and sets, and then get up there in t-shirt and jeans that they were wearing when they woke up. Like, where is the costume? It's an important part of the aesthetic. Creator said it to me once. They never wore stage clothes, and they had me make one of the first band wardrobes I ever made. And they're like, I finally feel like we have the whole package, the whole element together with the band, the full production. And I'm like, well, that's cool, you know? And it's not like we made them anything crazy. It was just like, let's pay attention to what we're wearing and make it not off the rack.
You've experienced the extreme end of costume stagewear, not just as a designer, but also as a performer. What was it like creating the character of VULVATRON for GWAR?
In designing the character, I had never, designed something that was going to be sculpted in latex before. And they had the whole shop and been making the props and costumes for years. So Matt McGuire was the main person that I worked with on that. Slide Menstra had the blood, coming out of her nethers. So I was like, why don't I have giant blood spewing tits? Like, everyone would want to see that. The metal world is craving like examples of women being monsters and not just princesses. You can be a scumdog, you can be a monster, you can be like a giant alien fiend. You don't have to be a pretty unicorn princess. Like, let's provide more examples for women in metal that they crave.
Over the decades, there have been numerous influential and iconic heavy metal looks. Like it or loathe it, it's all part of the fabric of metal.